right, so starting from the top, like I said, data definition and data manipulation. Data manipulation language, however, this assumes that we have containers within our database system. The database itself is a container, tables are a container, columns are a container, all right? They hold data. When we're trying to take information or data out of these particular containers or add them back in, or alter the information themselves. That's what the data manipulation language is for. However, when we're altering, creating, or destroying the actual containers, that's what we call data definition. So let's just recap, just in case it doesn't come off as being too obvious. We have data manipulation every time we are working within those containers. But if we're actually altering the containers themselves, we are using a data definition language. So here goes. I'm going to start a new session with H2. All right. And if you remember, we did this one last time. I've showed you guys before, ladies and gents, on how to get started with a new table, or I'm sorry, a new database within your own copy of H2, at least by the actual browser console. So just going to sign into this browser console. All right, and we're in. So I'm going to blow this thing up. If you can't see it, please let me know. It's important that you can read what I'm writing. So now, moving in from where we were last time. So if you weren't here the last time, no problem. All right. I can always start from scratch. So here we go. Starting from scratch. Create table. And I'm going to call this one practice. I think practice is just fine. Now, this right here is enough for me to create a table. It's going to be completely empty, obviously. All right, but I do have a table there. As you can see on this left-hand side, I now have table practice. Now, if I say show tables, I'll just actually create a new line down here, show tables. And if you remember correctly, this up here, empty table. I think you all know that by now, though. This down here, it just simply asks us to show what the table's constructions are. So now I'm going to get the two tables that I built both last time and this time. So it shows all available tables. And I could do the same thing with show columns and so forth, all right? I'm gonna run them both. Well, no, I'm gonna run actually just this one down here. I don't wanna create duplicates. And now you can see that I have two tables, all right? If I wanna see the construction of the tables, I have to say that I wanna show the columns from those tables. And just by way of illustration, here's practice. All right, as you can see, it's empty. And what I had last time was anime faves. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take a look at the show of hands. If you get everything thus far, you know, just give me the hand signal, the Alt Y for your, you know, the raising hand thing. All right, so it looks like we're doing good. I'm just gonna like give it some seconds so I can like make sure everybody's with me. Okay, so people stop raising their hands. Hmm, interesting. Let's see. All right, I think maybe I have half of everybody with me. Hmm. Okay, for some you can't raise your hands. That's interesting. Okay, but all right, no problem. Um, and some people are saying that they're in between somewhere. All right, so if you're in between, I need you to write that down and let me know. I'm gonna like open up a session just as I get past this data definition language part. All right. So let me just move just a little bit forward and keep those questions in mind. There's going to be like a discussion half that comes right after this. Um, so now from there, let's just suppose that I want to change the fact that I have an empty table. That's going to be a problem. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say the following: alter table, and I'm going to use the table name. So practice. Now here's where I'm getting the syntax from. All right. So write down some new challenges are entering the ring. But anywho, um, right at the point where we have alter table, add columns. That's what I'm working on. Okay. So you're going to see alter column right there. That's not exactly what I'm doing. Right here with alter table add, I'm right at this part. All right. And I'm going to do this just like we did with table creation. So moving back over, let me just show you really quickly. Let's suppose I had a practice two. Practice two says the following. Has a name. It's a variable character. Size 50. And we also have an ID. That's going to be an integer. All right. Casing doesn't really matter. And so now I have a sample table. Oh, wow. I should have said ID is an integer. Sorry, guys. All right. So now I have my sample table. Okay. Here's what I'm going to have to do. I'm using variable character 2 so I can actually insert Unicode characters instead of ANSI characters. So I guess I should make that a bit clearer. Character 2 and variable character 2, they use Unicode rather than ANSI. So if it's like an internationalized type of program, then that's going to have its benefits. But now let's take the first practice table, and turn it into the same type of table as practice 2. So here's what I'm going to do. Alter table practice add columns. Now I could do them one at a time, or I can do them more than one at a time. Here's how it differs. In the one at a time variant, you're not going to use this bracket so much so. So if I just wanted to add a column, I could easily just use it outright with add, and then I'm going to have the column keyword, but then column name and column definition won't appear within the parentheses like I would have had right here, okay? Because it's that simple. It could just be inferred from the context. However, let's suppose that I have multiple columns to insert. Take a look at what I have down here. So I add a column, all right? But then coming down here, I now have the following: a column name and a column definition. And then I can also put in a comma. This ... means and so forth, which also means that we can repeat this process. So another column name and another column definition. That'll work out just fine, all right? So here's what I'm gonna do. In the first case, for practice 2, I'm gonna add a third one. For practice 2, I'm gonna add an address, all right? So practice 2, add column, address, and address is going to be a variable character. Or better yet, I think I'll use a different data type. I'm gonna use text. It allows for even more, it allows for much larger inputs. So I don't have to guess whether or not the person's address will fit within 50 characters. I can use an entire paragraph of text, all right? So I'm just gonna put that in. Let's see what we get. Now, text has a synonymous designation. It's also called character large object. It means that I have a larger number of characters somewhere else on my storage system. So let's just take a look at what we have. For name, I have variable character 2. For ID, I have an integer. And for address, I have text. No problem. Now, if I want for the original practice table to have the same updates, here's what I'm going to do. I take out this part, practice 2, because I'm changing the original practice table. Then I'm going to do the following. I'm going to add multiple columns. And now this part's going to look like it matches what I have up here. In fact, it wouldn't hurt if I did the following. Just going to transport it right on down. And I can even put a comma here and add in the new part for address text. So you can actually see how the syntax is completely compatible. All right, let's just put that to the test. And there you have it. So now I have the update. All right, both of these tables will match. Okay. Now, there are other things I can put in here. I can alter certain columns. So let's suppose that I want to alter a column, not just a table, but the column in the table. So I'm going to go back to my practice table. I'm going to say the following: alter table, alter column. All right. And now here's what I want to do. I want to actually change the data type of ID. I want to change it from integer to big integer. So here's how it works. Take a look. This is a completely different command. If I go back to my list of commands, right up here, my alter column then has column name and column definition trailing, the same way I did with the add column. All right, so let's do this. Notice that I'll only do one at a time. I'll only do one parameter at a time. So I now want for ID to be a big integer. Now the difference here is that with integer, I only get an integer that is 10 digits long. With big integer, I can get 20 digits long.
Doesn't it have to be capital ID?
No, there's no need for capital ID, but I gotta make sure that I keep the question I answered to a minimum until, there we go, until, I open up the floor for everybody. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, this is how it is. Didn't write in which table. So alter table, alter column. This is how it looks. Now I've changed this guy from ID with a normal integer to ID with a big integer. Let me just expand the column a bit. There we go. I had too much desktop real estate to manage. So this guy is int, but this guy, big int. Yeah, I didn't say which table. That's what I added in practice. So now, that's how I alter. So think of it this way. We have a life cycle in which we have additions or creation. We also have alterations and reads. Then we also have updates and destruction. All right. Those are our different types of phases for the life cycle of our containers. All right. Now, if we take a look at the other things or the other processes, so far we've read our tables by way of show, right? We were able to see the construction of them. We created them. We updated them with alter. And now there's also a delete possibility. So I can do the following. Let's suppose I say alter table. And I'm going to alter practice table. Practice 2, actually. Alter column. Well, actually, no, I don't want to alter column. I want to drop a column. All right. And the column that comes next, I'm going to refer to it by name. It's going to be ADDR. All right. Well, let me show you the syntax I'm getting it from. It's right down here, dropping a column. All right. And it's going to be this guy here. Now, if you take a look at what we have down here, we have multiple examples. And the examples that were given allows you to drop more than one column name. All right. So if you're dropping multiple columns, that's how that would work. So now, moving back, I'm going to go into my other screen. I said I want to drop ADDR. I'm going to run that one. Now let's take a look. Practice 2. There's no more address there. Okay. Now let's suppose that I actually did have other things within my table. I'm going to take practice, my table practice 2. I'm going to insert into it. Let's see, practice 2. Values. And so now what I need are names and IDs. So remember, I need to use single quotes. That way my characters will be registered properly. I won't get errors. So Joe is 0001. Okay, just gonna run that one real quick. All right. I'm gonna add some others in. And by the way, when I insert, I can do the following. So let's just take a look at our commands. Because you see me use the single case. There's also a larger case as well. Take a look. So now, after we come to the part with the values, insert values, you can actually jumble up or you can, I guess you could say, reorder the way you wish to enter different values, right? So you don't always have to have the first argument as first, second argument as second. There is a way to change them around. And what you do is as follows. With the table name, you put the table name in there, but you also put afterwards the order of the table columns, all right? So the order of the table columns could then be altered. And then once you're done with that, you then make sure that the values have the exact same corresponding inputs, all right? So let's suppose I said ID, comma, name, right? Then when I get to this part here, values, then I'm going to do something similar in which I then have an open parenthesis and then whatever values those are in the exact same order. And then I would be done with those individual insertions. All right. So just going to go back to my original program. All right. If you look online, you should see in the larger database Dropbox folder, there's going to be some .sql files, and they look just like this. They were backups from my table, and they are, in many cases, abbreviated by the machine. So when you see things like that, that's exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing multiple insertions. All right. But let's suppose I don't want to use uh, predictable numbers. So I'm just going to say something like John will be next, I guess. John, it will be what? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That works. All right. Check this first one out. And since I have up to 20 numbers because of I have up to 10 numbers. I'm not going to go overboard with these particular integers. I'm doing just fine. So now here's what I want to do. I just want to select everything from practice 2. And there you have it. All right, that's everything. They've truncated the first one, but the second one is the way it is, the way I entered it. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you what this truncate command means in the context of an entire table. Because there's two operations that you should be made aware of. There is a way to erase data within the table. I can clear out the entire table in one shot by using the truncate table command. All right, so take a look. This is what practice 2 looks like right now when it's occupied. So far, practice is empty. All right, that's empty. And practice 2 is going to look just like it pretty soon. Here it goes. Truncate table and practice 2. All right, just like what you see here. Now, take a look at what happens when we try to select star from practice 2. It's completely empty, all right? So that allows us to clear out the entire table in it, in its content. However, notice that the table itself is still there. That too can change. Let's say the following, drop, and I'll put drop in a more, I guess, logical order. That way you don't think I'm toggling things. I'm gonna say drop table practice 2. Here's how it's going to make a difference. Before, when we had show tables, practice and practice 2 are both there. Now when I drop practice 2, all right, well, that didn't highlight everything. There we go. Notice how my columns have changed. I no longer have practice 2 there. Show tables. No more practice 2. So now not only did I delete the content of practice 2, but I deleted the table itself. So drop is the command for destroying our different containers. All right, so that's how the data definition language works.